Hey guys, so it's been about a week and I thought I would tell you about bringing Trixie to Korea. Some of you already know what happened, but I am sure most of you have no idea what actually happened with Trixie. So I thought I would tell you about it. So I brought my dog with me from America to Korea, and it was a lot of legwork and money to do that. First, when I was in the US, what I had to do was a lot of vet stuff. I had to go to the vet, I think 2 or 3 different times. No, twice. I had to go there twice. Once was about a month or so before we left. I had to go and I had to get a certain type of blood test to test that she had no blood or no rabies in her blood at all. It's a titer test. And I had to get a bunch of paperwork done for her. And the titer test, what I had to do is they draw blood, and then you have to overnight the blood sample to a location that does this particular test. There's only one location in the entire United States that does this test, and that's in Kansas. So I had to overnight a vessel of her blood on dry ice to this place so they could do the test and I could have all the proper paperwork for quarantine. And then I also had to take her to the vet about a week before we left for the airline to make sure that she was completely okay and ready and everything was in place for her to fly. On top of the vet, I had issues with, well, not issues, but like I had to get preparation for things. I had to make sure that I had her favorite toy. I had to make sure that I had an airline approved carrier, which I got a hard case carrier because she was going into cargo because she's too chunky to go in cabin with me. So I had to put her in cargo, which is why I ended up flying Korean Air, because they have a pressurized cabin for animals. But anyway, I had to get a hard-sided crate, and it had to be ventilated on 4 sides with screws that were metal, not plastic. And I had to have water in there, and I had to have all sorts of stuff in the actual crate. So I get everything prepared. I have all of the stuff that I think I need. I have the quarantine information. I have it all in my little packet with me that I go on the plane. Get to the airport and everything's good. So I leave Trixie at the little pet thing, and they're like, "Oh," and she's whining. She's so sad. She's like, she doesn't know what's happening because she's in this crate. She's fine in the crate, but she's scared because I'm leaving her at the pet place so she can go into the cargo. And it was heartbreaking, but I knew that I would see her in like 16 hours once we landed in Korea. So in Chicago, we're leaving, and I think she's ready, I'm ready, all of my stuff and bags are already go, and then I get on my plane, and that's where things go south. I had already at this point spent about maybe $500 with all the vet visits and all of the things that I had to get done prior to going. So it wasn't too expensive on that end. But once I landed in Korea, that's when the big issues started to happen. So once we landed in Korea, I am extremely excited. I'm a bundle of nerves, and I immediately go and get my bags, and then I try and find quarantine because I'm like, I need to get Trixie. It's been about 16 hours since I've seen her, and I'm gonna get her, and I'm gonna get my baby, and everything's gonna be great. It's gonna be perfect. And so I go to quarantine, and there she is. There's her little crate, and she's there and I'm waiting for me, and I'm so excited because I'm like, oh yay, I get to be reunited, and then we're gonna move to our new city. Not what ended up happening. So I get there and I'm handing them all my paperwork, everything that they needed, everything that's signed and dotted, you know, everything. And they tell me the paperwork is wrong and that my vet didn't fill out the correct quarantine form. I'm near tears. I'm surprised I didn't cry. It was so sad. And they're like, we're gonna have to send your dog back to America. And this is all in English and Korean at the same time. Like, the lady's speaking Korean to me and English, and I can barely understand what's going on, but I understand most of it. There's paperwork that's incorrect, and they want to send Trixie home. And I'm like, please don't do that. We are immigrating to this country, and like, I'm freaking out, and I'm like, please don't do that. Is there any way that I can just, what can I do to keep her here? And they're like, well, we can quarantine her, and you can get the correct paperwork overnighted to Korea for the quarantine. They're like, we'll accept that. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, since you did do the, like, I did do the proper procedure, it was just my vet filled out the wrong paper for the quarantine. Anyway, so I'm freaking out. I'm like, okay, that's fine. They're like, but after 30 days, if we don't have it and you don't pick up your dog, we'll kill your dog. And I'm like, thanks. I needed to hear that after I'm, crying my eyes out anyway. So I reluctantly leave Trixie again and go to Yeoju, 3 hours away from Incheon. And I get there and my co-teacher's like, where's your dog? Did you not end up not bringing her? What happened? And I explained to my co-teacher what had happened. And basically she convinced, because I was staying in a hotel until my apartment was fixed. They put up new wallpaper, not in this apartment, but my old apartment. They put up new wallpaper and they cleaned. And so I was in a hotel for the night, and they convinced the hotel person to let me use their computer, so because they didn't have internet in the bedroom, to let me use their computer to contact my family and everything. And I ended up having a cell phone as well, and I called home crying in tears after I got into the hotel and explained everything that happened and told my parents, like, you need to get this, please get it as soon as possible and send it to this address, which is what my co-teacher had given me, my address. So I was having it sent not to my address, but to the school's address, because it would just be faster that way, and I could immediately leave from school and go to the quarantine in Incheon. Anyway, not a big deal. So I'm thinking, okay, everything's taken care of. My parents are on it. They're going the next day to get everything that I need from the vet. It'll be fine. Okay, my parents send me a message telling me that they have gotten the information the next day and that they are going to send it to me. I start work thinking everything's fine, only to find out that in customs, there's a holdup on this overnight package. They don't exactly know where to send it. So my co-teacher's keeps calling, one, quarantine, and two, immigration, being like, just send it to the freaking school, just send it here, send it here, send it here. Like, it's just a paperwork, get it to us. And it took, even though the paperwork got to Korea within 2 days of my parents sending it, it took them 6 days to actually get it to the school. And that took my co-teacher calling the school, or the immigration, or customs, not immigration, customs, like every single day, being on their ass and telling them, get this stuff here, send it here. So it finally arrived the day before Chuseok. And I had no classes that afternoon. So my co-teacher told the principal she's going to get her dog. We're giving her the time off. It didn't come out of my time off, actually. My school was amazing through this entire process, by the way. But we're giving her the time off. She's going to Incheon to get her dog. And my co-teacher bought me the tickets to Incheon and back from Incheon to Yeoju because I was taking the bus. So I get on the bus. So I tell the taxi driver where to go, and he takes me to the quarantine office. I get to the quarantine office almost right before they close. They close at, I think, 5 or 4:30. I can't remember. It's been almost 3 years now. But I get there, and I tell them, why I'm there. Nobody speaks English. And I hand them my paperwork, and they just sign all the T's and whatever. And then they tell me, we're going to take you to your dog. And they make me put on this entire suit. It's all white. Everything's white. And it's to, I guess, prevent diseases from getting out. I don't exactly know, but I looked like a fucking idiot. Anyway, so they take me to my dog, and the guy who's been taking care of her actually speaks English, and he's like, she's really afraid. She won't let anybody near her cage, and she's really protective of this particular shirt, or this piece of, it looked like a crumpled up blanket. He's like, she's really protective of it. I'm like, oh, that's just a cut up shirt that I had put in there that I had been wearing for the past, 5 nights before we left, because I wanted her to feel safe in her crate when she was, obviously probably scared from the flight. So apparently she wouldn't let anybody near her crate. People would go into there and she'd growl at them, and she was very aggressive. And Trixie's not an aggressive dog at all. She loves everybody. But she was very protective of the crate, and particularly this blanket that I had made for her that smelled like me. And I get there, and I go in this white suit, and she's growling at me and like really, really like freaking me out. And I'm like, Trixie, it's mommy. Like, you're fine, girl. And then she realizes it's me, and she comes, and she will not leave me alone. She's so happy. She didn't eat, apparently, because she had lost a lot of weight. She looked really thin. And it was heartbreaking, but it was so I was so happy because I could see her and I could take her home with me. So I get her, I take the crate, and I go to the taxi driver that I told to wait for me, and he takes me back to the airport. I go to get on my bus, and the bus driver tells me, no, you can't get on here. You can't bring the dog on the bus. And I'm like, but my co-teacher had called and said, like, we're bringing the dog home. Like, that's fine, right? And so, like, I had the ticket. It was fine. But they wouldn't let me on the bus. The guy said, if you put her in the under thing where we put luggage, you can bring her on, but you can't bring her on the actual bus. And I'm like, no, my dog's not going in the undercarriage of the bus. And so I was just like, fuck it, whatever. That's, $12 or whatever it was, $15 out the bucket. I don't care. I want to go home. I'm tired. I just want to go home. So I go and get a taxi on Chuseok Eve. Dumbest mistake of my life. I ended up paying like $250 because of traffic and stuff from Incheon to Yeoju for a taxi. And it was horrible. It was just the worst experience ever. But we finally got home, and I had my dog, and it was perfect. The whole experience once I got to Korea was the expensive part. I ended up paying, with the taxi ride, probably close to $1,000 to get Trixie, to get everything overnighted, to get Trixie completely okay, and out of quarantine and everything. Quarantine, I think, was like $500 or $600 by itself. So it was really expensive once I was in Korea. But, I learned that I need to triple check things. I double checked everything, and I thought everything was fine, but apparently the quarantine paper was incorrect, and that wasn't my fault. It was the vet. But it ended up working out fine. Trixie's been in Korea now for 3 years, and we're happy, and she's sleeping right now in her bed. She's really happy, and I wouldn't change it for the world. It was really expensive. It's more expensive to bring Trixie to Korea, about $1,500, than it was for me to get to Korea, which was about $1,200. And it's insane to think about that. Like, I paid more to bring my dog into the country than I did to bring myself into the country. But in the end, like, honestly, it doesn't matter. It was fine. I was okay. And Trixie has made my experiences in Korea 10 times easier because I have something that I can cuddle with, that I can remind me of home when I'm here. So it's definitely worth bringing her and the horribleness of quarantine. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Next week, probably after classes start. I love you.